Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy afternoon. Hope everybody is having a tremendous Thursday so far. Little bit of a somber conversation today, as obviously yesterday, midday, we found out or a little past midday, we all got the news about former Notre Dame legend, college football legend, as it is titled here at A to Z Sports Notre Dame. Lou Holtz passed away at the age of 89. And I obviously want to talk about that because that is it's a very big deal, not only to Notre Dame fandom and Notre Dame lore and Notre Dame legacy, but to college football legacy. There's not a lot of guys that kind of transcend the profession that they are in, right? Like most people just kind of are good, positive members of whatever their profession is, or are good at what they do, or at least solid at what they do and make a living in what they do. And there's others that are remembered forever, obviously. And Lou Holtz is, again, not only Notre Dame fandom, but in college football fandom, known forever for what he helped to build and maintain, obviously, for the golden standard of Notre Dame football. So I want to spend some time talking about him, some of his life accomplishments, and we'll do all that type of stuff. As I mentioned, it's a little bit of a somber note here today, so I didn't want to. It's funny. My live stream got delayed yesterday, which seems kind of like it was meant to happen to a degree, but it got delayed yesterday, and I was going to go live last night, and then obviously the news of Coach Holtz passing came down the wave. And I just basically decided that last night just probably wasn't the best time to go live because I do think that I think there's a time for just letting people chill and not get too much into their emotions and, just kind of give everybody a chance to just figure it out, right? Like to figure out their own emotions, and we'll reconvene in the morning. So that's why we are here now and why I decided to push this until Thursday afternoon here. So we'll talk about Coach Holtz. We'll talk about the impact he had. I'm also planning on having Mark Edwards on the show sometime this weekend. We'll play an interview of just kind of what Coach Holtz meant to him. Because obviously Mark played under Coach Holtz from 93 to 96 and was a day 2 draft pick into the NFL and was a great football player, great running back for Notre Dame, great fullback for Notre Dame. And I'm trying also to get a couple other former Notre Dame players that played under Coach Holtz as well. So going to give you guys as much just feedback on, and a lot of things about how great of a coach Lou Holtz was, but I want to get kind of the player perspective as much as possible that we're able to play underneath of him, because as most people know that have been in sports, and whether you were a high school athlete, a college athlete, an NFL athlete, whatever, there are some coaches that just they have an impact on you that goes beyond the person that we see every Saturday or Sunday, whatever level we're on, or Friday nights. There are some people that have an impact forever. And when I talked to Mark about this, Mark Edwards, I said, hey, would you want to come on? Like, we don't have to do this tonight, but like, would you like to come on at some point to talk about Coach Holtz? He said, yeah, absolutely. Like, it was no hesitation. I feel like when people pass away, people die, I do think there's like an uneasiness to it. Some, I don't want to say awkward, but like there's just, it's just a weird feeling talking about someone that just passed away to a degree, right? But there was no hesitation there. And I'm trying to maneuver with a couple other former Notre Dame players that played under Holtz. And hopefully I'm able to get a couple of them on, but I have not received a single feedback of, nope, don't want to talk about it. Like, I just don't want to spend the time. Everybody has been very open to the conversation, which again, I think speaks volumes to what Coach Holtz meant to Notre Dame football, meant to these Notre Dame football players, meant to the South Carolina football players and the William and Mary football players and the Arkansas football players and the NC State football players, all these stops along his rich coaching career, he's had an impact. So we'll talk about it. I'll go over the record, some of the accomplishments, obviously, in the blue and gold and South Bend, all that type of stuff. But I do also want to leave people open for if anybody wants to leave a comment and just kind of put your opinion out there on Coach Holtz. If you were able to live through the Lou Holtz era of Notre Dame football, you have a good recollection of it, give me some of your favorite memories. If you just want to kind of have a moment of mourning, go for it. That's what we're here for. And if you also want to ask some questions, I'm open for it as well. But I want to make this one, I want to make this live stream a lot more about not me today, right? So I'll answer some questions. I'm always here to do so. But this isn't about me today. This just isn't about me. This is about Lou Holtz. But if we have Notre Dame-centric questions, whether it is pertaining to Lou Holtz, the Lou Holtz era, or if it's just a general Notre Dame question, whether it's off-season, getting ready for spring practice, 2026 outlook, I can't answer those questions. I will answer those questions. So I want to quickly go over the tangible things in terms of win-loss records and accomplishments and all of these types of things to kind of give you guys some feedback on what Lou Holtz was, obviously, as a coach during his, 33 years on the college level, which is pretty crazy. And obviously that doesn't count his brief stint in the NFL with the New York Jets as a head coach as well. So he coached a long, long time. So let's talk about the Notre Dame impact first, then we'll go into a little bit more just kind of the overall coaching impact. So, of course, coached Notre Dame from 1986 to 1996, so that is 11 seasons with the Fighting Irish, coaching 132 total games, record of 130-2, which is a 765 winning percentage, which is pretty dang good. In 1988, he was the National Coach of the Year during that undefeated national championship season for Notre Dame. Obviously, it was also the only undefeated season we have seen for the Fighting Irish, right? Under Coach Holtz's tenure, I should say. So that was his only undefeated team, the last national championship team in the program's history. Hopefully that changes sometime soon. But outside of that undefeated 1988 season, which was a perfect 12-0, he also had a one-loss season in 1989. He had another one-loss season in 92. He had another one-loss season in 1993. So 765 winning percentage, which is funny enough, is actually, even though it was the biggest job and the hardest job that he had, it is his highest winning percentage of any other stop. So he spent 3 years at William and Mary, 4 years at North Carolina State, 7 years at Arkansas, 2 years at Minnesota before coming to Notre Dame. Then he ended his college career, obviously, with the South Carolina Gamecocks in the 99 season to 2004, so very late 90s to the early 2000s. His winning percentage, in order from largest to smallest, 765, at Notre Dame. Then he had 735 in 7 seasons with the Arkansas Razorbacks, so had a great stint there. Was 719 winning percentage at North Carolina State in the 4 years that he was there. And then we go down to his 3 stops that actually were below 500. He had a 471 winning percentage at South Carolina, although he did a better job than that would indicate because South Carolina was in a bad spot. In his first season with South Carolina, they actually went 0-11 because they were a really bad football team when he took over. But in just 2 years after that 0-11 season in 1999, they went 9-3, which was one of the better years South Carolina had in quite some time. But he has 471 winning percentage there. He had a 455 winning percentage at Minnesota, which is so funny because literally the 2 years before he got to Notre Dame, it was at Minnesota, and he had a 4-7 record and a 6-5 record, and yet he got the Notre Dame job, obviously. So then he does that, and then actually his worst winning percentage, this was hilarious to me. His worst winning percentage was at William and Mary. Which I don't know. I don't know why that made me laugh so much. But 3 years at William & Mary went 13-20 with a 394 winning percentage. Obviously, that was his first head coaching job on the major college level. Went 3-7, 5-7, 5-6, and somehow parlayed that into a very successful stint with NC State. So, don't know exactly how that happened. If people were live back then, you could let me know in the chat of like how that ascension happened. But as I said, 1988. Bear Bryant, Coach of the Year for the best coach in college football, was the 1977 Walter Camp Coach of the Year, which obviously it's 77. That means that he was at Arkansas, so he won the Coach of the Year there. 2000 was the SEC Coach of the Year. That was that season I was talking about where South Carolina went 8-4 that year. They went 9-3 the year after, but he won Coach of the Year in the 2000 season. And then also he won the 1972 ACC Coach of the Year while he was with the North Carolina State Wolfpack. So 4 different Coach of the Year recipients here, two in conference, two national recognition at 4 different spots, which I think that kind of says a lot. So you want a coach of the year at not only Notre Dame, but a national coach of the year for what he did at Arkansas. Then he won an ACC coach of the year at NC State, and then a SEC coach of the year while with South Carolina. So that doesn't tell me greatness. I don't know really what really does. That means that you received a coach of the year either in your conference or national recognition at 4 different schools. It's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. We got people kind of filing in here on a somber Thursday to recognize the legendary Lou Holtz, who unfortunately passed away on Wednesday at the age of 89 years old. We have Kevin Shooter 5753. What's up, Kevin? Said they absolutely robbed in 1993. I thought head-to-head mattered. They lost to a ranked Boston College team. Yeah, and I know that Boston College team with Glenn Foley still has a lot of negative energy in the Notre Dame fan base. I was only 2 when that happened, so I know obviously the significance of it and what happens, and I think Glenn Foley threw 4 touchdowns that day. But yes, I understand completely the frustration there because Notre Dame could have won 2 national championships under Coach Holtz. We also Kevin added Wasserman needs to pick up that national championship from Tallahassee since he is so passionate. So I get it, man. Trust me, I get it. Especially back then when you didn't play a national championship game. It was just a team was designated in a national championship after the season, which I think is one of still the dumbest things of all time. But I was alive then, but I wasn't old enough to obviously have a opinion on the fact of the format of that decision or whatever. So that is what we have, though, on Lou Holtz in terms of win-loss records, 4-time Coach of the Year, 2 in conferences with the SEC and the ACC, and then 2 National Coach of the Year honors, including 1988, when Notre Dame was an undefeated 12-0 and won their last national championship to date. I want to go to that 1988 season real quick because I know people make fun of it on the national scope, but obviously in Notre Dame fandom, it is a season that will be remembered forever. So Lou Holtz's team that year, and you got to remember, it was a very different game of football. So like when I talk about the points per game that they averaged that year, it's not going to be the most impressive number of all time, obviously, because it was more of a running era. Obviously, Notre Dame ran a lot of options, so they wanted to slow the pace down. Notre Dame that year under Lou Holtz averaged 32.6 points per game, which according to this collegefootballreference.com was 15th in the nation in that season. They also only allowed 12.3 points per game on the defensive side of the football, which is obviously a tremendous number, 3rd in the country there. Their strength of record that year was 1st of 105 teams that were on the FBS level at that point. And then strength of schedule was 2nd. So 2nd ranked strength of schedule, 1st ranked strength. So record strength, which is a wild number. So when we look at that 12-0 record, I'm going to look real quick. They defeated number 9 Michigan 19-17 that year. They also beat number 1 Miami 31-30. And obviously that game was an instant classic. Notre Dame also beat number 2 USC 27-10. And then in order to finalize their national championship game, the last game of the year, they defeated West Virginia, who was ranked number 3 that year. They beat them 34-21. So the numbers again that year, 1917 over Michigan, 20-3 against Michigan State. They won 52-7 over Purdue, 42-14 over Stanford, 30-20 over Pitt. Miami again, 31-30. Air Force, they walloped 31-13, 22-7 over Navy. 54-11 against Rice. I don't even know if Rice was any. Oh yeah, Rice was 0-11 that year. So they were not very good that year. They beat Penn State 21-3. Penn State was not a great team that year. But then again, you beat USC, who was 10-2 that year, who was number 2 at the time, and number 3 West Virginia, who finished 2nd in the poll that year. Actually, I'm sorry, they finished 5th. Ranked in the final AP poll, with their ranked number 3rd going into that contest, and you beat them by multiple scores. What's up, Tommy? What's up, Tommy? Hope you're doing well, my friend. I see you in the chat there as well. Fortunately, talking about something that's pretty sad. So that's what we're doing today. But I will talk about other things if people would like me to talk about things, or I'll keep this exclusively about Lou Holtz and remembering a Notre Dame and college football legend, because I think that Lou Holtz deserves the entirety of the podcast if that's what we want to give him. So I'm going to do that unless people have Notre Dame centric questions, and in which I will pivot and talk about a few of those. But yeah, talking Lou Holtz today. That 12-0 Notre Dame team, 1988, Tony Rice, leading passer that year, 1,176 yards, 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Tony Rice also ran for 700 yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground, averaged 5.8 yards per carry. Tony Brooks, 5.7 yards per carry, 667. Mark Green, 646 yards rushing. Anthony Johnson, 282. Rodney Culver, 195 yards. Down the list at number 7, seventh leading rusher that year was Ricky Waters. Ricky running Waters, which is funny. But Ricky Waters was also the second leading receiver that year behind Rocket Ishmael, who had Rocket had 12 catches for 331 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's 27.6 yards per reception. And then Ricky Waters, 15 catches, 286 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was 19.1 yards per catch. And again, obviously that era was much different. You were running a lot of option. You were running the football at a higher clip just in general. If I have this number correctly, yes, it looks like in 11 games that year. Well, they have the 12th game included here. I guess because it was the final game of the year, it was a bowl, whatever. In 11 games recorded, according to College Football Reference, 592 carries as a team in 11 games. So that is over 50 a game. I'm going to do the quick math on here, and I'm not going to do it in my mind. I'm going to do it with the calculator. That means they average just as shy of 54 rushing attempts a game that season. 54 rushing attempts a game. They also threw the ball 170 times that year, which means that 170 divided by 11 would be 15.4 times a game. So again, over 53 rushing attempts per contest, under 16 passing attempts per contest, which is hilarious. As a team, Notre Dame caught 90 receptions that season, which means they average less than 10 completions a game. That is so weird, man, how the game has changed. That is 8.2 receptions per game as an offense. That is a wild number that year. Wild number. Notre Dame was great at turning the football over that year. As I look through some of these other statistics, George Streeter and Jeff Alm recorded 3 interceptions apiece. Michael Stonebreaker had 2. Pat Terrell had 2. Flash Gordon had 1. Yeah, they had 18 interceptions. And 18 interceptions in 11 games, which doesn't sound like a crazy number to some. But when you consider the fact that other teams also did not run the ball at a high clip, that is a pretty dang impressive number. So they forced a whole lot of turnovers that year. As a team, defense, they only let up 112.4 yards per game, but that was on 36.6 attempts. So they let up 3.1 yards per carry that year. And again, the strength of schedule was the number 2 in the entire country. The strength of record was number 1 in the country. So they did some impressive stuff. 112 yards rushing allowed per game, 167 passing through on the ground. So, through the air, excuse me. So they let up, as a team, as a defense, 279 yards per game. Just throwing some numbers out there. So it doesn't look like we're going to have a deep conversation of some other stuff here, okay? So, sorry, I'm getting a bunch of emails as I record through this. All right, so I'm not going to spend too much time here then, folks. So that's what we're going to do. If there's no questions, that's totally fine. Again, I had the full anticipation that people would just want to talk about Lou Holtz today. So in his stops, and I think when we talk about this from a historical context perspective, everyone knows that you cannot tell the history of the history of Notre Dame football without mentioning Lou Holtz, obviously. You can't do it. Notre Dame was blessed with some great coaches throughout their history. By the way, a buddy texted me and said that yesterday was Newt Rockney's birthday, which is so his birthday, Lou Holtz passing same day, just kind of a weird coincidence there. But Notre Dame was blessed with a lot of great coaches. Eric Parseghian and Lou Holtz and Newt Rockne and a lot of great coaches, obviously. And despite the long history, even before Lou Holtz got to South Bend, you cannot tell the history of Notre Dame football without Lou Holtz, which, if you can't tell the history of something, a positive thing, obviously. And Notre Dame is one of the greatest brands in sports, not just in college football, but in all of sports, Notre Dame football. If you can't tell the history without mentioning an individual person, that tells you the magnitude of what that person meant to your program. So Notre Dame perspective, tremendous. But from a college perspective, you can't tell the history of college football without Lou Holtz either. And I don't want to lose sight of that because there's going to be some people, and I've already seen the ignorance on Twitter, some people coming in and making fun of Lou Holtz, even after he passed, and making fun of Notre Dame. And the ignorance will always be there from other fan bases, from just the general public. But I hope for a second, just for a split second, those people that do bask in the ignorance can take a minute to do their real research on Lou Holtz and everything that he was able to accomplish as a coach. Because, again, this is 33 years of college coaching experience, and only 11 of them were at Notre Dame. And I'm talking about head coaching experience, so he probably spent more time as an assistant before that. Only 11 of 33 years. Winning at NC State at that time, winning at Arkansas at that time. South Carolina was a dumpster fire when he took over there in 99, and the ability for him to turn programs around and to make programs better, the history of college football was better because Lou Holtz was there. So, hat tip, you have to give him everything. You have to give him all the credit in the world. With Tommy, I was born in October of 88. Then Lou wins it all. Coincidence? I think not. Sure, Tommy, you were the reason for the last national championship in Notre Dame. You were the reason. Absolutely. Yeah, sure. We can tell ourselves whatever we want. Let's go, man. Let's go. All right, look through the chat here again, live here on YouTube, Facebook, and my Twitter. If you're on Twitter, don't go to Twitter to watch these things. Go to YouTube to watch these things. YouTube is a much better place. Facebook's even a much better place, but YouTube is the best place because it is easily to just have conversations. So if you're with me live on YouTube, make sure that like and subscribe button. If you are on Facebook, I do appreciate you. So make sure that you follow the A to Z Sports Notre Dame page. Make sure that you like the stream as well. That always helps with the algorithm and all that type of stuff. People tell me that it helps the algorithm. I don't actually know that. It apparently does. Whatever. It's not my thing. I talk and write for a living. That's what I do. I don't worry too much about the technological things. I figure if you guys like the content, you'll keep coming back. But apparently there's an algorithm thing that blah, 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 whatever. I don't care. But make sure that you do like the stream because I'm told that it's really good. It's really good for us. So stream, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Folks, next week, we will be back to our regular scheduled programming because Notre Dame football will be back before you know it for spring practice, only in a couple weeks. And then we will have our eyes fully set forward for the 2026 college football season, which, despite this being a little bit of a sad couple days here, obviously, with the passing of Lou Holtz, the future of Notre Dame football is still very, very bright under head coach Marcus Freeman. With C.J. Carr and the crew coming back in 2026. High expectations, a lot of people that are already ranking them at number 1. If not, they're within the top 3 or 4 typically in most rankings. So it's okay to be excited about Notre Dame football going into 2026. And we will turn that excitement around starting next week. I'll be live at noon Eastern time on Wednesdays. That is our typical day. When things like this throw a wrench into the conversation, we will adjust accordingly. Quick feet, adjustments, processing, all that type of stuff, all those weird, funny, fun football cliche words, but we will make adjustments on the fly as need be. But it will typically be on Wednesday, noon Eastern time. Once again, taking a second to pass along condolences to the Holtz family with the passing of legendary Notre Dame and college football head coach Lou Holtz. Hope everybody has a great week. I hope you all safe, happy. Make sure you tell your loved ones you love them. Going to bed tonight. And remember that life is short sometimes. So remembering Lou Holtz, thank you for everybody joining me today. Back Wednesday, noon Eastern time next week. But until folks, as always, go Irish.